Hello, ¿cómo está Las Vegas? And welcome to Chris Garcia, the Conservative American. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. God bless America. God bless our troops all over the world. And I just want to take a moment to once again reiterate how sad, how sorry I feel for the shooting that took place in Alexandria, Virginia yesterday as the Republicans were beginning to practice for their annual baseball game against the Democrats. And we had that nut, a 66-year-old man who was a volunteer in the Bernie Sanders campaign last year, walk up to a member of Congress and ask him those were Republicans that were outside practicing, and he began to open fire, and thankfully within minutes the Capitol Hill police, the Alexandria police were there and returned fire and fatally wounded the man, and he died at the hospital not too long thereafter, and probably saved countless lives. I don't think people realize it could have been a massacre. I think that those senators need to have security at all times. I understand that they're Capitol Hill police, they're congressional security, but any time that our elected officials, I believe, leave off of Capitol Hill, they are open targets. And the president, no matter where he goes, there's a motorcade. Now, of course, our president is going to have more security than a senator or a House representative or as you go on down the line. But I think that there needs to be some sort of a detail, especially when you have that many senators together at one time. Or at least, I mean, you know, we're talking about our elected officials here. If we start having people take shots at our elected officials, we are in trouble. What kind of a country are we living in? Because the answer is not to take away our guns. Our answer is to secure people. This is the Second Amendment. It is our right to bear arms in this country. And I'm tired of hearing the other side use this as an opportunity to talk about gun laws. Gun laws has nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing. There are a lot of people that legally own guns that can do bad things. But I think that it's very important. I've always said this. I don't think there's enough security. I think the security needs to be one of the main occupations in this country. I think that they are, of course, when you get up into Secret Service or certain details, you are compensated handsomely. But I just believe, period, I think security and teaching are two of the most underpaid occupations in the country. When you are security, I mean, people take this for granted, but you're the first line of defense. Police have to be everywhere. They have to be in the streets. They have to be on the highways. They have to be in the neighborhoods. They have to do a beat because you have to have mobile officers who can respond all over the city at any given time. But stationary security is the first defense. Those are the first people that make the phone call. Those are the first people that approach someone who is doing something wrong. And I think that they are underpaid and underappreciated. And I don't care if it's outside of a grocery store, a school, or whatever. Look what happened in Sandy Hook. How many children lost their lives because we didn't have armed security? How can you have hundreds of young people in a building and no security? How can you have so many senators at a baseball park and not security? I think security is one of the most important things that we need as a nation. I don't think there's enough. I think education is underfunded. I think teachers are underpaid. And I think security officers are underpaid and underappreciated. But we need more. I don't care what business or what you go up to when you see somebody there with a uniform on, especially if they're armed. No matter what you thought about doing, you're going to think twice about it. Even if it's just some person that you have to confront before you commit a crime, it makes you think twice before you commit that crime. Had there been a line of security, who knows if that person, that nutball, that Bernie Sanders volunteer, would have even opened fire yesterday at that baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia. But the fact that there wasn't gave him carte blanche to start shooting at our elected officials. Now, I don't give a daggone if they're Democrats or Republicans. It doesn't make a difference. They're elected by the people, fair and square in a democratic society. And we can't have people that disagree with policies running around with guns and picking off our elected officials. There's something wrong with that. That's shocking to me that they don't have security detail, but they need to, and it needs to be paid for. And I don't care what anybody says, by the taxpayers. Those are the people that we put in office. Those are the people that we have given responsibility to make our laws in our country the freest country in the entire world. We need to pay to protect them. If it costs us a few extra pennies out of our pocket, that man might die. He needs multiple surgeries, that senator. Donald Trump is a friend of his, and Donald Trump went to visit him in the hospital and said he's in bad shape. A few pennies out of our pocket and extra security could have saved that man's life. And now other senators are getting threats from these nutballs out here that the same thing's going to happen to them. When we wake up as a nation and start securing our people? I mean, we had people jumping over the gates at the White House trying to get at Donald Trump. We had people shooting outside the White House, and now this. I forget the name of the female senator a few years ago, Abby, I cannot remember her name, that was shot in the head. I mean, you know, we've got to have more security. We've got to have more armed security. We've got to have more deterrence. And we got to have common sense gun laws. It's not about taking guns away from people. It's about background checks. I think, let's call it what it is. They're mental checks. I think when a person goes to get a gun, I mean, one of the things when you go to get your driver's license and that teacher gets in the vehicle with you, they're not just getting a range of how you drive. You're not a robot. If you notice, they look over at you a few times while you're driving. They get a little mental capacity of what kind of person you're going to be behind the wheel. When a person goes to get a firearm that can end someone's life, I don't care about whether they're this or whether they're that. I care about what is the mental stability of that individual. What are they going to do with that weapon? What is their intentions? Is their intentions to hunt? Are their intentions to protect their family? Are they just a sportsman? Are they a collector? Or are they crazy? And I think a little background check, a little battery into the mental health, what kind of drugs is that person on? What kind of prescription pills is that person on? I guarantee you, if you dig into that man's life yesterday that opened fire at that park, he has mental problems. He probably is on some sort of medication. That is not the kind of person that should be walking around with a firearm that could end somebody's life. That's common sense. I always say Chris Garcia, the conservative American. When I was coming up, conservatives stood for common sense, common ground, which is missing in this country. It's either left or right. I think we've gone batty as a nation. When you got that nutball walking around with a gun and opening fire on innocent senators that are just trying to have a baseball game so they can come together through all of the nasty rhetoric that's going on in our country. And they can sit down and just have a baseball game. You know, over sports, a lot of times, or sitting down, having a card game or on the golf course, you learn about the person that sits across the aisle from you. When you go into chambers, when you go into the congressional house, and you're just voting on certain things, and you're with your people. You're with like-minded people that are on the aisle, and Republicans sit here and the Democrats sit here, and you're pointing fingers at one another. But when you get in a baseball game, you talk. When you're on the golf course, you talk. And you realize that that person's really not that much different from you. Maybe they want to go about it differently, and you can find common ground in that. You can call yourself whatever you want, but you're supposed to call yourself an American first. You're supposed to call yourself a patriot first. You're not a Republican or Democrat, you're an American. I call myself a nationalist. I believe America first in everything. Jobs, immigration, everything. America for Americans. And that's just what I believe, and I don't care what anybody else believes, but at the same time, you can be the most liberal Democrat, that I can sit down with you and I can find common ground. Because just because I have my opinion doesn't make me right. It's just my opinion. You might have a different opinion. You might feel like there should be open borders. Well, I don't. I think not only should there be closed borders, there should be a wall. separating us from people that want to come in here and do harm to our country. What's wrong with sitting down and talking to somebody? I don't care who comes on my show. I'll talk to anybody. I might think you're crazy for just wanting to have open borders and just have people come in and out of your country and not even vet them. You want to know what they're here for. Do they want to help the country? Do they want to hurt the country? Do they want to kill people? Do they want to just live off of us as taxpayers and collect welfare and food stamps? I want to know what you're here for. But I can sit down with the most nutty left-wing liberal, and I can sit down with them, and I guarantee you there's something in their ideas that I can find common ground with. But that's not what's happening in our country. What's happening in our country is you have this network that says this, and this network that says that. And it's 24/7, and it's just a drumbeat in people's heads. And you got these people, these anti-Trump people that's all they're pounding on CNN, MSNBC, and all these other stations. It's just a 24-hour pounding against our president. Well, if you got somebody sitting at home that's mentally unstable and has a firearm, and that same drumbeat keeps pounding in their head, Trump is wrong, Trump is the devil, Trump is evil, Trump is destroying our country, they're going to pick up that firearm and they're going to do something about it. And it's your responsibility. I blame these networks that continue to mislead the American people. Let me explain something to you. I cannot even imagine having the kind of money, the kind of credit that our president has. I can't even imagine. But let me tell you something. If I did have billions of dollars in the bank, and I had real estate and businesses all over the world, running for president would be the last thing on my mind. Why would I do that? I've made it. Why would I run for office? And I think that that's something that people don't think about enough. He was living a very good life with a very beautiful wife, beautiful children, very intelligent. He's a very successful businessman. He is not dumb. He understands how politics works. I don't think he understood exactly how Washington, D.C. worked. If you remember months and months ago, even before when it was him against Hillary. And I believed he would win. But I said he has no idea. I lived in Washington, D.C., and I lived in New York City. Washington, D.C. and New York are totally different. New York is about what you know. New York is about making friends. Washington, D.C. is about who you know. And they don't care who you are or where you come from or how much money that you have. Washington, D.C. is about connections, and he has none. He has no connections in Washington, D.C. Not to any politicians. He has no friends there. That's not his city. That's Harry Reid's city. That's Paul Ryan's city. They're going to be there when he leaves office. They're still going to be there. So they know how that city works. And that's the only thing that bothers me. I love the fact that he wasn't a politician, but I hated the fact that he wasn't a politician because he doesn't know how Washington, D.C. works. So we've got to come to some sort of a common ground, or you're going to see more incidents like this, I believe, unfortunately, begin to take place. You're going to have more nuts taking matters into their own hands. And so I call for right now, hopefully these people get together and come up with a security detail, especially when you have a grouping of our senators or our House of Representatives in a place. The price tag should not matter. These are our elected officials, and I believe that it's our job to keep them safe. That was very scary, what happened yesterday. It could happen anywhere at any time. It happened to Gabby Gifford, I believe her name was, a representative from Arizona a few years ago who was shot in the head. I saw her the other day on TV. She is recovering. She's doing great. But still, to go through something like that, to have to go through the number of brain surgeries that she had to go through, to have to go through the number of surgeries that the senator that got shot yesterday is going to have to go through. Even if he makes it, he's going to have to go through multiple surgeries. And so I don't think that our security is enough for our elected officials. I think there needs to be more, and I don't think the price tag should matter. Whether it be a House of Representative, a senator, a Secretary of State, our president, security is first. There are a lot of people out here that are mentally unstable. They don't have the best health care. They're not getting the best coverage. Thank you, Barack Obama. And a lot of these people are off their meds, can't afford their meds, have run out of meds. They're getting weapons without background checks, which is, I'm a Second Amendment person. I believe that every American has the right to bear arms. But I'm also a common sense person, and those people should be background checked mentally to see where their state is, what they're thinking. What is wrong with asking questions? You know, that's all Donald Trump talked about when he talks about vetting people that want to come in this country. It's just common sense. What are you doing here? Can you leave your door open at home or your gates open at home and people just walk in and out of your house? If somebody right now walked in your house, before you even called the police, I guarantee you have about 70 questions. I promise you. What are you doing? Why did you just come in my door? What do you want? I mean, you would have 70 questions. You'd be so shocked if you would have so many questions. Then you would have to stop and say, if you don't leave off of my property, I'm going to call the police. That would be down the road. And that's all Donald Trump is saying. You just don't leave the doors open to the country. And we know we have jihadists all around the world that are using the southern border to enter our country. And they're jihadists. They want to do harm to our country. And the only thing he wants to know, he's not saying I'm racist. He's not saying you can't come here. He's not saying that the American dream is dead. He's saying the American dream is very much alive. And it's going to be great. Again, it's going to be greater than what it was. We want you to be a part of that. We just want to know who the hell you are and why you want to come here. What do you want to do here? What's your intentions? And they call him racist and anti-American and all these other names. It's incredible. I didn't know that if you wanted to know why somebody came into your house illegally, that made you a racist. That made you anti-American. I don't know when that happened, but for some reason it did. And what's really crazy, they call Barack Obama the deportation president. He deported more people than George W. Bush and Bill Clinton combined. And yet they never called him racist. They never pointed the finger at him. But Donald Trump, he's not even talking about deportation. In fact, the only thing he talked about was deporting illegal criminals that were in our country illegally, committing crimes, and we're jailing them on our tax dollars. I think that's insane. That we're paying for people that's not even supposed to be here. We're giving them 3 hots and a cot. We're paying for their lawyers. Why are we doing that? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And if you even question that system, you're called a racist or a nationalist. Well, I'm a nationalist. I don't think that's a bad name. But they're labeling you because you simply want to ask questions. I just think that's crazy. And yet Barack Obama deported more people than the previous 2 presidents combined. But whatever Donald Trump says is going to be twisted. Whatever his opinion is on anything is going to be twisted. Because you have this drumbeat of propaganda on MSNBC and CNN, CBS and ABC and NBC, and all these other shows, these morning shows, The View, and so on and so forth. You just have a drumbeat of propaganda against a man who's taking a tremendous pay cut because he cares about our country. He didn't have to do this. He was sitting around in Trump Towers, living in a gold castle. He didn't have to come to the White House and work for the American people. He didn't have to do that. There was no reason to do it. Zero. He didn't have to do that. He could have stayed where he was at. He took a pay cut to do what he did. He has to deal with all of this stuff every single day. I hope it doesn't wear on him. I hope it doesn't get to the point where he doesn't want to do this anymore. I know it can become very wear and tearing. I know it can get him down. But I also know he's a very strong person. He's a man who made himself, who's come back from 4 bankruptcies. And so I know he's a very strong individual. And he's going to fight through this. And he's not going to give him the satisfaction of quitting. I think he's going to come back harder. I think he's going to go through a period of depression because what's depressing is that you cannot possibly believe and imagine that these people don't want the same thing that you want. They don't really care about America being safe. They care about being paid. They care about being right. They don't really care about vetting a lot of these jihadists that are coming into our country. They don't really care about saving jobs in the United States of America. They don't really care about keeping companies here that have been here for years. They don't really care about having a fair tax plan that encourages businesses to open up and brings middle-class tax relief and that makes people pay their fair share into the system. They don't care. The only thing they care about is just this constant drumbeat of trying to get Donald Trump out of office. How can you impeach him? He's barely been a president for 100 days. It's just amazing. That just goes to show you when you start saying things like that, you had absolutely no intention whatsoever of working with Barack Obama about anything. You had no intentions. Working with Donald Trump about anything. None. Zero. And what I was going to say, why I invoked Barack Hussein Obama's name, was I hope that our president, Donald J. Trump, pulls an Obama. Because Barack Obama, unlike Trump, came into office believing what he believed, and he had no intentions on working with anyone, Democrats or Republicans. He was going to push through giant socialist programs. Everybody thinks that those Obama phones were free. They weren't. Taxpayers paid for that. Everybody thought that Obamacare was going to be free. Obamacare is not free. We're paying for it. And he didn't care what Sean Hannity said. He didn't care what Bill O'Reilly said. He didn't care what people said that had figured him out, found out about him, realized he was a Marxist, he was a socialist. We all knew that in Chicago, from the same neighborhoods he's from. We know when he studied at the University of Chicago. We know the idols that he looked up to. He totally believes in socialism. He didn't lie about it. He said, we're going to have the largest social welfare program. We're going to have the largest social insurance program the world has ever seen. He named it after Obamacare. Obama phones, doubled the food stamps, doubled the debt in 8 years from 10 trillion to 20 trillion. What I like about him is that he doesn't lie to you. He's like, I'm going to destroy this country. I'm going to turn this country into a country that he idolizes, Cuba. He went to visit there a few times. He idolizes Venezuela. We all see what Venezuela is going through right now, right? People are starving to death there. He didn't lie to us. He said, I'm going to turn this country into those countries, and you're going to pay for it. The rich, you're going to pay for it. The middle class, your jobs are gone and never coming back. I'm going to destroy this country, and if you don't like it, I'll just pull out my executive pen and just sign these bills into law. We've got to repeal and replace every daggone thing that he did because he ruined this country. That's why Donald Trump ran on Making America Great again, because before him, it wasn't the greatest, but it was better than how he left it. And I'm hoping that when Donald Trump finishes his 2 terms, because I believe he will be reelected, that America will be great again. That's my hope. That's everybody's hope. They can reverse some of the damage that Barack Hussein, left-wing nutty, Nancy Pelosi's son, Obama, did over 8 years. We're hoping that Donald Trump can reverse some of that. We really are. If he doesn't, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. Because we cannot afford another 8 years. That's why we didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. We can't afford another 8 years of Barack Obama. We cannot. Cannot. So we need to come together as a country. We need to have more common sense. We need to have more common ground. We do not need these nutties out here picking up guns and taking shots at our senators. This is how low this country is sinking. I see it every day out here. People thinking that they're supposed to be taken care of from cradle to grave. That's what Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, that's what they're trying to push through. They want people to rely on the government to take care of them from the time they're born to the time they die. No matter what it costs, no matter what it costs to the taxpayers. They don't care. They don't care about this country. They just want to be right. They just want their nutty ideas passed through. They want to be in control. They're really control freaks. And they want to tell you they know what's best for you. You don't know what's best for you. You shouldn't have the ability to pick out your own health care plan. You shouldn't have the ability to send your kid to school where you think is best. You shouldn't have the ability to live where you want to live. You shouldn't have the ability to control your own Social Security and invest the money the way that you see it. You shouldn't have the ability, you should have the ability to depend on them to feed you, for a phone, for everything. That's their ideas. Sounds a lot like Cuba. That's their ideas. That's the model that they're going on. Sounds a lot like Venezuela. These people really believe that. It's scary. And luckily, last November, people woke up and heard Donald Trump. But there's such a drumbeat going on right now against him. It's almost like his message is getting drowned out. That's what they're trying to do. They just want him to go away. They really would love for him to quit or be impeached. They need him to go away because if he works, if he's successful, it pushes their agenda back. And trust and believe, everyone, they have an agenda. It's called the New World Order, and they thought that it was smooth sailing. I'm not a conspiracy person. I don't believe in it, but I do believe in people selling out. And I believe a lot of our senators, our representatives, our president, our last president, not this, has sold this country out. I think we've been selling ourselves out for the last 3 decades. And it took a man to step up who could not be bought off and say, hey, we got to turn things around because we're taking this country in the wrong direction. I wish a speedy recovery to the senator that was shot yesterday. He's in our thoughts and prayers. I'm so glad that it wasn't worse than what it was. But we need to make sure that our elected officials are secure at all times because we got a lot of nuts running around out here with a lot of guns. And it's not the guns, it's the people. Thank you so much for listening today. I told you I'll always be here. I'll always be a straight shooter with you. Got over 100 shows now. We're going toward 200 now. Thank you so much for watching. Stay with me. Always subscribe, push the bell when you watch me on YouTube. Sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 shows coming out in one day. So, yeah, just always stay with me. Continue to subscribe to all of the Radio Tribune shows. Face the Tribune, Rolando LaRosse, Gordon Martinez, Blue Laker Cobra, and of course we have John Estrada back with Conservative America. That's from 3 to 4 o'clock. So thank you so much for listening. God bless America. God bless our troops. And Godspeed to our great president, Donald Trump. Thank you.